Hello, I'm Lynn Delaney, author of Infertile Robin, a spiritual journey of pregnancy loss, hope, and healing. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about the stigma of infertility. Being diagnosed with infertility is a very difficult and heartbreaking experience, and the path of infertility is not for the faint of heart. It takes stamina, courage, and a tremendous amount of faith to push through the grueling road of tests, procedures, administering fertility drugs, fielding other people's opinions, facing the highs and lows of daily thoughts and feelings, and worst of all, suffering the losses and the stigma that goes along with that. People, especially women, have a strong connection to their fertility and to motherhood. Becoming a mother is a part of our natural instinct and the lineage from which we come from. So when our fertility backfires and motherhood is pushed into some empty void, there's a tremendous amount of guilt and shame that go along with that. We are taught by others, society, our doctors, midwives, and books, not to share our pregnancy with anyone until after the first trimester, just to be safe, just in case. The general consensus is that it is much easier to deal with the loss of our pregnancy without others knowing that we were even pregnant. For those of you who know, not telling others that you were pregnant in the first place does not make the experience any easier. With the stigma of pregnancy loss, we are left alone in empty sorrow to grieve a life that no one else knew existed. Contrary to this, going through a pregnancy loss with the support of your family and friends will help give you strength to get through the terrible loss. Losing a pregnancy is like experiencing the loss of a close family member or a dear friend. It is a loss that deserves the reverence of any other loss that one has to endure. I would now like to read an excerpt from my book, which captures a moment in time when I felt the stigma of miscarriage and not being able to have children. The excerpt I'm going to read is in chapter 14, which is called Crying is Part of the Daily Process. On a nice warm day in July, I dragged myself out into the world to meet my mom at the local farmer's market. We walked around and looked at the various vegetables and flowers that were for sale. We stopped at one tent where someone was selling flowers. My mom took pictures of her grandbabies, my niece and nephew, out of her purse to show the vendor. Of course, the vendor gushed about how cute they were and asked all kinds of questions about them. Afterwards, as we walked away from the tent, I started to bawl. It was uncontrollable, and I could not stop. My mom looked alarmed and confused. She asked me what was wrong. I told her that I was sad that she did not have pictures of my babies to show people. I felt so stupid for saying that, but it was the truth. She was crestfallen and apologetic, which made me feel even worse, like I was raining on her parade. We hugged and went our separate ways. As she drove off, I thought about how tiring it was to have my emotions erupt when I least expected it. Once again, I felt trapped in a pattern of which I could have no control over. Before it had been the cycle of fertility and infertility and all that went with that. Now it was the scarred emotions that were left in its wake, which came and went like unpredictable tides rolling in. I just wanted the whole scenario to go away. But it didn't. I had to face my situation every day. I had to learn how to cope, or I was not going to make it in the world. I would be stuck in the disappointments of the past and blind to the possibilities of the present. I felt ashamed, lost, and barren. My experiences, which would have otherwise been a normal day at the farmer's market, changed suddenly when something was triggered within me. It was as if I was taken over by some instinctual ancestral feeling of the stigma of infertility. So remember to have compassion for yourself and for others who are dealing with the turmoil of infertility. I love my mother and I love my niece and nephew dearly. It had nothing to do with how I felt about them. It was all about how I reacted to the societal pressure of having children and the stigma of pregnancy loss. It is a formidable, invisible force that sometimes can ruffle the feathers of even the gentlest of souls. I'll leave you with this blessing. You are a beautiful, magnificent being of creation. You are so fertile in your eternal soul. So stand in the light of the universe and fill your heart and being with peace and birth who you truly are. May many blessings and waves of love fill you up and make you whole. Thank you for watching.